Evening, Joe. Joe's in Australia and I'm in Scotland. And Joe's been
Good
a
evening.
member of my Kick the Overthinking Habit group coaching program for the last few months. And we've been working together for quite a while. And she's very kindly agreed to jump on and share a little bit about her experience. So, good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Richard.
So, could you start just by talking a little bit about what was going on in your life, before you came across me?
Okay, well, look, it goes back about 30 years, struggling, anxiety, then developed what you could call intrusive thoughts. And they were very negative, and really, when I reached out to you, I was struggling after having spent many, many years analysing, researching, reading, and everything else that goes with it. But at that particular time, even though I thought I was on the path to trying to fix, at the time, I thought my mind, I must have come across, when I was doing the research, an article from yourself, and that led to Kick the Thinking Habit, the book. And I read a couple of chapters of that book, and I noticed at the bottom of the page it said, look, let's have a chat. There's no obligation. And after having read everything there is, Jon Kabat-Zinn, everything on how to help anxiety and thinking. And by the way, I'm a regional sales manager in Australia, and I present to large groups, but underneath that happy looking facade was someone struggling, totally enmeshed in the mind. So I thought, no, I'll give this guy a call, and we started on our very, very first interaction. And I felt I connected with you, and with your background in Buddhism and everything else. And I think just the way you came across made sense to me. And you have said at that very start a couple of pivotal points that stuck with me right from the beginning.
So, yeah, like most people who come to me, you were on this path of self-help path for years, or
Totally.
self-improvement. And
Yes.
logically, if we believe that there's something broken with our mind, logically, we're going to look for ways to fix it.
Absolutely. And that was me 100%.
Yeah, it's what I now call ironing the ocean. Trying to fix the
So
water.
true.
Yeah.
So true. So what a relief in the first, I went ahead and went onto the coaching program, which was the start of bringing on the better parts of my life now, because I was aware straight away that you don't have to try to even fix the mind, because that hit me immediately when you said that. I thought you'd say, oh, Joe, you're broken.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so great to hear that that's what the mind does. That was the first thing. And then, of course, once you explained the thinking part and the thoughts arising, that really blew me away, because I always thought that thinking and thoughts arising were combined as the one thing. They weren't separate.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just the beginning, Richard.
So what is it that you know now that has made a big difference from before?
At this point,
Yeah, just generally. I mean, you're saying
okay. Well, in
the
general,
difference between
I
thoughts
started
and
off,
thinking, the
yeah.
The
the
ability
mind.
to step back and watch the mind. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. So the thing that you told us, and then of course I participated well in that first course, but I started to feel a little bit better. I didn't meditate most days, whereas I do now. But in this last course that we're still on was, pretty life-changing as well, because it gave us a chance to go deeper into the mind, which I now realise is, I say the mind, I used to say my mind.
Okay.
And you taught us, if we can watch thoughts or images or whatever it is, emotions, then we're not actually the emotions, the thoughts, and the thing. Once we realise that thoughts are self-arising, as you taught us, and that thinking can be stopped in its tracks, that's pretty mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
By simply, and it sounds so simple it's ridiculous, but to be aware of the present moment. So
Well,
what you helped us do is, even in the beginning, is realise that whatever we are inside is able to watch thoughts and to watch the present moment. Whereas I used to always be in the head thinking, I'm now totally the opposite.
and probably like most people, you saw you and the mind as the same thing, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
It was my mind. Now I call it the mind.
Or me. Yeah.
Yeah, the mind,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of me, but the fact that I can watch it, and I've been taught now that it's extremely important when you're looking at a thought, or I won't go into the horrible images that used to come up, and I was so frightened of what I was seeing. It sounds ridiculous, but I can watch anything that the mind decides to serve up to me and just watch it. But it's so important not to react or analyse it, because you used to speak about the second arrow, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Right, by hanging on to that thought, you get like a bolt. I used to get like a bolt going through me of sheer fright and terror. I don't have any of that now.
Wow. So what's your life like now compared to before?
I've got a lot of self-acceptance, but one of the biggest things, I don't think you even know that's changed. I used to say to you in the beginning, because I've read books on intrusive thoughts, do this, bring up the thoughts, say your mind, the amygdala, gets used to the fear. I used to live in fear, but I had a habit of dragging up these images all through the day in my head. And I thought it was, they call it OCD,
Mm.
and that is bringing up, it was like an urge to bring the images up. Now I've learnt the other way, thankfully through you of watching, that's dissipated. I mean, how about that?
Yeah. I mean, one of my other models, which you know about, is the seven false beliefs model.
Yes, that was really big for me too.
And I would say that the main thing that causes suffering for most people is not so
Yes,
much the thinking patterns themselves, it's these beliefs that it's wrong, it's bad, there's something wrong with me, it shouldn't be there, I need to fix it. And as you say, this is what, in the Buddhist teaching they call second arrow. And it's not so much the original thoughts, feelings, emotions that create suffering. It's more the beliefs about them. Yeah.
So true. And after all my research, you were the only person, I know you wrote those, but to say that to people so we understand was absolutely incredible.
All right.
Now, I know people that are listening to this, there'll be hundreds out there, and they think, oh, I don't know if I really need to get that deep into a course with Richard, or I'm doing okay just watching on Facebook what's coming out. But believe me, there is an absolute whole raft that you don't know about. And I'm still on the journey. We all have good and bad days, of course. But the other strange thing that's happened is that I noticed there were periods now, it was short at the start, where there's not really any thinking anymore.
Wow.
Right? Oh, it's just true. I can't believe it either. I mean, I might think of something, just in general about I've got to go and do this or whatever, but I don't have those repetitious thoughts, and I don't have the fear feelings anymore because I even look at that. But I can go through the day and I'm not even aware. I'm just doing stuff without thoughts belting through my head that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, please,
You can't
people,
really
if
put
you're
a price
thinking,
on that, huh, Joe?
there's no price. There's no price. And sometimes I can't believe it. But as you always said to us, follow those plans. They're pretty simple, but it all sounds simple. But when you don't know the answers, it takes practice to get it into the reality. That is making sure you watch everything,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm training myself never to analyse or hang on like you've told us. The meditation, which helps you, in my mind, to find that quiet, silent space. That's a start, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And to learn to become the watcher or the conscious person, not the unconscious person who's stuck in thoughts all day.
The sufferer.
That was me. I should hold a medal for that, Richard.
Well, yeah.
And I can only say that when I was at my absolute worst 20 years ago, I'd go to a big conference interstate, and every time I went to stand up, I knew I was going to collapse and black out.
Well,
So that's long gone, but I still had episodes of anxiety. But the biggest thing that troubled me were the thoughts.
right.
Now, I started with you. As I've said to our groups before, how can I put it? If I don't know where I'd be if I hadn't met you. And you're like our friend.
Well, if
And
you
we're
hadn't met
lucky
me,
that
you
you
would have
did
met
that.
someone else that told you the same stuff.
Pardon?
I said, if you hadn't met me, it would have been someone else, because this
No.
material is, none of us come across this knowledge by ourselves. Yeah.
I believe that. And
Oh,
as you said, in a group, it's a lot stronger when we all get together and practice the meditation. And meditation's an everyday thing.
mm-hmm.
Like people I know in my family think it's got some sort of religious, I don't know, strange background, but it's just so normal.
Yeah, it's just being present, isn't it?
But it does take practice. And the weirdest thing is too, and it happens all day, every day for me, as you taught us, this is all I can say, is that you have taught us the way, is that the moment I realise I'm not present, I'm present.
Mhm.
and keeping some of that awareness in my body. I used to wonder what the body scans were about that you used to teach us,
Mhm.
and you have taught us, helps me keep in the present. So I just hope anyone out there who has struggled anywhere, in any level can be improved greatly. And I really, really mean that.
Mm. And the thing, I'm going to talk a little bit about the group in a moment, but what I love about the group setting is that it enables me to work with people over a longer period of time, Because,
Definitely.
as you say, I mean, these things are incredibly simple. I believe everything that's profound in life is incredibly simple.
Once it falls into place, so.
Yeah. And as you say, there's really just two or three things to keep doing consistently, and the changes will definitely happen. And
But even when I started this course, I was having some, I wasn't consistently feeling better.
mhm,
And I must say, the course itself, the imagery, everything that's written in there, the modules, and also the audio book I've listened to many, many times, like the
mhm.
sticks floating past, which is the thoughts floating past. As the watcher, has helped me so much.
So that was my next question, Joe, was about what do you think of the group coaching program, like starting with the modules? Do you find those helpful, or do you find it out in
Unbelievable.
a helpful way? Yeah.
I was really quite shocked just how good they were, having done a lot of corporate work in sales before, but they're concise. They seem to flow on really well. I can't remember just how many modules, but I thought I'd better slow down with these because I was very keen. But I've gone back over the content.
Yeah, I think there's 11 modules in total.
Yeah, there's 11 with a lot of imagery, and also the meditations that were in there were different as well. And being in the group meant that we could all be quite open in a group, share our own experiences, as I have touched on with the guys. And I believe you can be in those groups. You seem to get, I don't know what sort of, I think we're all on the same path and it all helps so much. But the content in that course is terrific. And the final parts, and then collating that audio book as well,
Mhm.
was the icing on the cake. But we didn't stop there. I don't know where some of the guys are with the modules, but the fact that we've gone, what did we do? Extend the catch-up sessions once a week, which I think we're coming up to our 4th month. It was only ever meant to be 3 months.
Mhm. Well,
So that's been terrific.
I mean, it can go on for as long as people want. That's the point.
Yeah.
I
And
was with my teacher for 15 years.
well,
I don't know if the group will
thankfully,
still be going in 15 years, but
yeah, but thankfully you've been able to help people, Richard. I really mean that.
So just to say a little about the modules, is basically I've put 2 courses in one book together to
Yes,
create this pathway to freedom, really.
it is pathway to freedom.
Yeah.
It's a pathway to to help you not overthink everything as well, as you said.
So what would you say to anyone thinking of joining this program, Joe?
Uh, if you're looking for the greatest gift to get your life back on track, and this is as true and honest as I could ever be, this is a must. It's much more than any book you could ever read, and I've read them all. And I didn't pick up on the nuances. I didn't pick up on enough to get me on the path to feeling great again.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that things don't happen, like an argument with your spouse or work deadlines. It's an understanding of who you are. And it is, until I've just done this course, I didn't really get into this. So it's over the last 4 months. I still struggled with different things. And as I said, I'm still a work in progress. But if anyone's thinking of doing this course, do it for yourself. If you're struggling in any way, the answers are there.
And you haven't even talked at all about your special space, Joe, which is usually...
Yes, I'll never forget the first time you did the meditation, leave your mind at the door. Was the first time I found this special space. I almost felt I could look around, and yet I was still in the room, but I was inside with my eyes closed. And I was pretty shocked even after it. I really, really was. So, what can I say? You've brought all that, the years of meditation, sitting on the cushion. You said you couldn't stand it sometimes. 15 years you've helped bring us. I haven't done any meditation anywhere near what you have, but I can still get into that special space.
Because it's you.
I don't know.
It's you. Yeah.
Sometimes I think I'm imagining it in the special space, but I think you've called it that.
That. Yeah.
And that pretty much covers it. But I'll always be on the path now, and the difference between myself now and then is, I can't even explain it. It's a gift. You've given me a gift of my life back.
Thank you, Joe. So is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, all I can really say to people out there, don't hesitate. You look at what you're spending on your life now, and as we now know, this thinking disease affects most of the population. So to me, as I said, all I can say, Richard, is thank you for the greatest gift you've ever given me. And I'll keep working on it.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot for chatting with me today and sharing your experience. That's much appreciated.
Absolute pleasure.